Hello, good morning, and welcome to my first ever episode, which is what I'm going to be calling a takeover episode. And I've set the bar really high to start with. I've got a fantastic guest on who has taken her time out to join the episode, which is fantastic. I'm a massive fan, and a lot of you guys will know that Emma's been on the TV coverage in London Marathon. I think that's where most people will know you from, Emma. So so welcome to the show, Emma. This is
Thank you.
Fantastic for me. I'm really excited to have
it's nice to be asked. Thanks ever so much.
Oh, fantastic. So how's life? How's things treating you?
Good, yeah, things are going well. I'm just starting talking of London Marathon, doing my training for this year. I haven't done that for quite a few years now. So yes, just getting back onto the mileage now.
Oh, fantastic. So that was actually going to be one of my questions. So you so it is London you're training for, is it?
It is, yeah. Obviously, things didn't go to plan last year.
Oh, no, absolutely, yeah. I think there's been so much impact, which that's one of the topics I wanted to sort of discuss later. But so you obviously went out for a long run. How was the mileage like to start with?
It's okay. That's the first 20 miler I've done since last year. So
Ooh, nice.
Just going out just to get the miles done. I planned on doing a nice flat route and somehow ended up going 5 miles uphill to start with. So
yeah, I mean, so it's so what area are you from? I mean, I don't want you to give your address or anything, but what sort of area are you from? And because I can imagine it's pretty hard to find a flat route.
Yeah, it's pretty hilly. We're on the north coast, but sort of down west, quite far down west. So it takes us a good sort of hour and a bit to get out of Cornwall. We're that far down. So it's nice and quiet most of the time.
Yeah.
6 weeks in the summer usually. But it is pretty hilly. I mean, there's loads of trails and coastal path and things like that to run on. But most people know I'm a bit of a tarmac. But it's hard to get me off the road.
Oh no, absolutely. I think for me, I started off on the track and then I went onto the roads, and initially I detested cross country and trails and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, I've actually kind of more begging for an actual cross country season now. I think so many things have been disrupted recently. I'm actually begging for a proper season, if I'm honest with you.
It was so strange going through winter and not having cross country races.
Yeah.
You've done them year after year after year. It's almost instinctive, and you think, well, why aren't we doing this? Something's not right.
Yeah, absolutely. It just throws you. Yeah, it completely throws you, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really does, because your seasons are so set, cross country into track and road, and then back maybe a marathon, and then back into cross country again. And it's like this set pattern, and all of a sudden it's all been thrown out. But there's been so much kind of innovation in that quiet period of races, with shoes and things. And also I think people have really rested when usually you don't. You go from race to race to race all the year through. And so people are coming back really fast and strong,
Well, you look at some of the times that are being run at the moment, and we've talked about innovation of the shoes, and but also you look at the rest, and I think that's certainly that's a massive factor. I mean, what was it? I think when the races first started coming back, you saw Joshua Cheptegei and a few of the others just smashing world records for fun. Yeah. Especially the women's 10,000 very recently. It's just it's one of these where, wow, I'd love to think it's just the rest and the technology innovation, but I think it's just it's one of these where I think previously you just think, oh, hang on a minute, but actually there's been so much come on in the last 18 months.
Yeah, there has. And mentally as well, I think, athletes are coming at races differently because they have had that break. And maybe it's given them the mental focus and relaxation to tackle it, not just physically, but mentally in a different way.
I think so. And, it just seems like people are happy to race, because I think sometimes you look at some people's calendars. So, I mean, I'll just take a few athletes examples. I think I don't know, Andy Butcher, I'll just say that, because I think sometimes towards the end of the season you see so many people run so many races, and I think whether it's in prep or whether it's actual championship races, I think by the time he's finished his season, he's done all his long training camps. I think sometimes they're just happy to get off the circuit for a little while, but actually people are turning up happy and want to race because of the break.
Yeah, exactly. And look what a difference it makes.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It should be a good year now.
Absolutely. And I think, obviously, talking of Andy, I think there's going to be obviously the British trials coming up. I think Mo's running tonight, isn't he? So, yeah, that'll be interesting.
Exciting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, yeah, I think, so one of the things I really wanted to ask you straight off, because I think, how did you get into running? Because I think from what I read, you got into it reasonably later than some other people.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I always did loads of sports at school, and in my when I was a teenager, I absolutely just loved being active, and I did all the sports I could, but never really focused on running. I did a couple of 800-meter races and loved that. But yeah, I had a bit of a break in my 20s, and then I got back into it in my 30s, just from going to the gym really and doing a bit on the treadmill, and then did a race for life. And although they're not races, there's a start line and a finish line and people watching, so it feels like a race.
People say that parkrun's not a race. I run it flat out.
Yeah.
I run it flat out, and you always aim to try and get the next person. So look, there's no judgment there at all. But I think
it's just that feeling, and that little competitive streak comes out, and I thought, God, I really enjoyed that. I wonder what I can do, and just kind of progressed it from there. And I was at the gym on the treadmill, and I'll never forget it. There was a young gym assistant girl next to me, and she said, "Oh, what are you going to do now? You're training quite hard." And I said, "Oh," I was running on the treadmill, and I said, "Oh, I think I might try and do a half marathon." And I'll never forget the way she looked at me. She looked at me like, "Are you insane?" "Oh, right, love." And I thought, "Oh my God, she thinks I can't do it." And that gave me so much motivation to go out and actually run a half marathon. And after that, I just got really serious into it. And my stepdad, bless him, eventually persuaded me to join an athletics club when I moved back down here. And I never looked back after that. That really changed everything.
Yeah, I think obviously I took a brief look. I mean, I haven't done too many facts and figures for so it's just a chat, I think. But to be honest with you, I think from when you first got into it and then you joined your athletics club, it seemed like the progression, I mean, I'm talking in terms of results and times, it looked like it progressed quite quickly in the first few years. Is that quite fair to say?
Yeah, I think the first couple of years I kind of settled into it, and I almost plateaued a bit because I was trying to run everything fast.
Yeah.
So not getting any faster, just constant like that. And then my coach, Alan Rowling, he kind of took me under his wing and said, you need a training program, and we need to give you certain sessions so that you're running a bit faster, sometimes a bit slower, different distances, and target races properly, periodize your training. And he gave me the structure to train, and suddenly I went from plateau to up. And it was down to him and to my teammates that I was training with, and the availability of the brilliant races we've got down here. We've got such a brilliant race scene in Cornwall. So it was quite, I was training hard, but I was focused and I wanted it, and everything was around to kind of support that. So it was a combination of things, really.
Yeah, and I think obviously you talk about, I don't know, percentages of what's important in training and stuff like that. I think obviously the fact that you was hungry and you wanted it, and I think that's just a massive portion of that, if that makes sense. And I think because I think if you kind of like I don't know, you turn up at the track, I really can't be bothered with this one, I'll just go and do a run or something like that. It's something where actually it's them sort of gains where you lose out on, if that makes sense.
And it wasn't like I was never like, oh, I really want to be the best at this, or I really want to be something or anything like that. It was like a curiosity of, I wonder what I can do. I wonder if I can. And just trying, I wonder if I can make the next step. And well, why shouldn't I? If I do what somebody else has done, why can't I? And it was just that curiosity. I used to do a lot of reading about training and about coaches' philosophies and sports psychology and things. And so it wasn't like a competitive, I've got to be the best. It was curiosity sort of thing that seemed to work for me.
is it fair to say you was kind of competitive with yourself? Because I think you obviously, you seem very goal orientated, and I think it seems. Is it fair to say that you was quite competitive with yourself, and you really wanted to progress for yourself, if that makes sense?
I don't even think it was for myself. I think the way Alan coached me, if he would give me a target, I'd want to hit it.
Yeah.
To make him proud, and think she did it. She did what I thought she could do. She proved me right. And so, and I wanted to make my family proud. And it wasn't for what I could achieve. It was I just wanted to make to other people, and kind of, I got inspiration from other people in the club and other friends I met on the racing scene. And you kind of want to be able to do that for other people as well. That, we used to run a beginners club and take them out around industrial estate, and to give them a bit of inspiration, that would give me as much enjoyment as and
I think with that, I mean, how athletics clubs run and stuff like that. So I run for St Albans AC, and I think they do something very similar. And I think people who want to give back to the club, so who give their training, so their experiences as well, because I think you're certainly right in terms of having a coaching program, because we was just talking just off the air, and I think a lot of times I think people just go out and run as hard as they can, and their body just can't recover. We're all guilty of it. So I think having that structure and having that beginners program, if you like, I think it's very essential. And is it Cornwall AC you run for, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, and some of the people that you first met there, you're still friends with, you still run with? Is it been
definitely. I mean, it's almost more like family, because you have known people for so long, and you've gone through the highs and the lows and the injuries and the race wins and the road trips, and it's such a close bond that you have with people. Even if they're not running for the club anymore, they're still friends. Socially. So it's been a massive part of my life.
No, fantastic.
I'm glad I joined it. It was the best thing I ever did, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can speak for myself. I can getting into running and obviously joining the club that's the best thing I've done. I've run for quite a few, because I'm originally from Norfolk, so I joined West Norfolk AC, and then Fenland Runners, progressed through to Neem Valley Harriers, and then I moved down to St Albans. Right. I moved that sort of area to be with my wife. So so I joined St Albans, and I mean, every club's made me welcome, which is great. So I can certainly understand the family aspect of it. But I think obviously your training progressed, and it led into quite a few titles, championship races, representing your country. How's that gone? So how quick did that progress? Because obviously you really progressed very quickly in terms of your running times and your results. I think you obviously got the attention quite quickly.
I guess it did. It's I think from sort of 2011 to 2014, everything kind of followed quite a quick path. Because 2011, we, as the ladies team, we were national champions at the London Marathon. We won the ladies team, and that was a little, our little team from Cornwall, and that was just, oh God, it made you so proud to be from here and to do it for here, and we were going back on the train, just so with our fingers crossed, trying to get mobile signal to find out whether we'd done it or not. And it was so exciting, and that was where I see the kind of start point, because it was a joint win that was.
Yeah, and I do actually remember that. I obviously don't remember the full details, but absolutely, I do remember Cornwall winning that title. I mean, because you're beating club. I mean, you look at the big clubs that are out there, Bedford County. You're looking at on a Serpentine. You can name numerous clubs who are big clubs, if you like. But actually, the way that you guys done it, I mean, you was all pretty consistent together, and I do remember that, and it got a lot of coverage at the time. It really did. So I was really pleased that I think a lot of people were pleased that actually you see the small club mentality, if you like, but actually it comes up to where I don't think you can beat the strong bonds that you guys have. I think a lot of the big clubs don't have that bond.
Definitely, and just to have that we're going to try for it. We're going to go for it. Why not? Why can't it be us? And it's just lovely if people can be like that, because, anything can happen. You've got to be positive. Otherwise, nothing will.
No, absolutely.
You've got to try and yeah, to be able to share it. That was just magic.
Absolutely.
Just loved it. But after that, I guess Alan asked me if I wanted to run for England, and I said, oh God, I'd love to run for England. No, I'd love to. Of course I would. And so he started me on the track to do masters races.
Yeah.
So I got selected to run for England as a master in the cross country, and did that a couple of years, and then eventually got selected to represent England at the Toronto Marathon, an international marathon, and got my England best there as a senior rather than a master.
Oh, fantastic.
And and 2014 really was my best year and my big year, with Cardiff Half Marathon and Frankfurt Marathon, my PBs. So that was
I can't believe you just beat me to it. I was going to say 2014, just looking at your the Power of 10 results. I'm not obviously going straight from that, because I know it doesn't always get it right, but it looked like 2014 you set numerous personal bests from all kinds of distances. So it seems like that time range you set from like 2011 to 2014, that seemed like a very much a golden period for you. And I think 2014 it really peaked, didn't it?
It did, yeah. Everything came together, and I think Cardiff Half Marathon was the best I've felt in my life. So fit, and it felt effortless to run. It really did, until the last sort of. But it almost felt like you were not in your own body. It was kind of effortless. And when I finished that, it was a big PB for me. I can remember going from a cool down and feeling like, oh, I could run a long way now. I feel fine. I'm thinking, that's not right, is it? I should be tired.
Yeah.
But then I went on to Frankfurt Marathon a few weeks after and got my PB there. So it kind of peaked just at the right time. Just, everything came together. And that's a lot of luck as well.
Yeah, I think, well, look, I mean, everyone needs their fair share of luck. But I think actually, if you think about it, the training that you've put in, well, pre-2011 and always all the way through them 3 years, it's just an end result, which I think everyone in their running life, I think, has a few golden races, if you like. I mean, I can certainly pinpoint mine where 2011, I think I'd done the London Marathon in 2:42, and that was one of them races for me where I think actually everything went right. I mean, yeah, don't get me wrong, the last 5K, like you say, is an absolute killer. But you got the mile to bring you home, and it's like it's pushing you along. So I mean, that was a golden race for me.
Yeah.
But actually, it's the result of all that hard work you put in, and I think you can't underestimate that. And yeah, you might need a bit of luck with the weather or something like that. But
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anything can happen on the day, but it's kind of the result of a lot of knockbacks as well, because everybody goes through their injuries.
Yep.
And has weeks and weeks and weeks of wind and rain and hideous things going on, but it's whether you come back from that, and I think it gives you the strength for the race on the day, knowing that you've tackled all those sort of obstacles, and it's given you that extra strength as well. So it's kind of you ride the roller coaster, don't you, and just hope that you end on a high at some point.
No, absolutely. And I think with that, I mean, because with that 2:42, I actually ran a race the week before, and I thought, am I mad doing this? But actually, my taper went so well. I've done an extended taper because I thought actually I was getting quite tired. I mean, the training went very well, but actually I thought the body was tired. So I thought I'd do an extended taper. The body felt great. So I thought I'll give it a go on a race. And I ended up doing the Coniston 14, which was it was one of them golden races where I was just like, I shouldn't really have raced it, if I'm honest, but it was one of these where I went there and I felt great, so I think it's just one of these where you just like ride it, just ride it. But then obviously I think a couple of weeks into the training program, I think I can remember having a terrible cross-country race. It was terrible. Oh, no. It was one of these where I think you fall over 3 times. You
shoe falls off.
Yeah, absolutely everything. Like, I had a terrible race, and it's just like, yeah, it's one of these where why do I bother? But no, I think everyone rides that. But I think moving on from that, because I think I take inspiration from a lot of others when it comes to training, and I look at the races on the telly. I mean, who are your inspirations when it comes to I mean, it doesn't have to be obviously a professional athlete, but in terms of like what inspires you to, or who inspires you, I should say?
Oh God, so many people. So
I'll put you on the spot here, haven't I?
yeah, no, I mean, it's not just athletes. I think it's also a lot of the coaches that I've met. We've been lucky enough to have, we had Bud Boldero came down.
I've met him once. Yeah, fantastic. Amazing guy.
And John Anderson, who coached Liz McColgan.
Yep.
And Dave Moorcroft. He came down and spoke to me about training, and they're just incredible people. And I mean, they inspired me, and they inspired Alan. They gave him new ideas and philosophies and things. Together, we kind of took the bits that we thought we could build in, and that was massive inspiration for us. And I've still got the notes that I took, years ago. I've still got the notes from both of them. And I mean, athlete-wise, I did loads of reading, loads about Greta Waits and Liz McColgan and Mara Yamuchi, who came down to Cornwall. She came down as well and did a workshop for us. And she was just such a lovely person. And she does so much work with beginner groups and park run. And she goes to all the clubs, sort of giving talks and things. And she was an inspiration because obviously of what she'd achieved, second fastest UK lady at the marathon, but also in what she's done since then and been giving back. But yeah, reading a lot was my inspiration, and even not necessarily in athletics and running, but other sports as well. On the sports psychology side, some of my favourite quotes have been from, say, rugby players or other sports, because you can pick out things that you can just maybe build into your area and try out. So yeah, again, I guess it's that curiosity of what you can pluck from somewhere and make a slight tiny little difference. If you can make a couple of seconds difference a mile to your time, then your times gradually come down. You don't need to be looking for 2 minutes quicker, or
you just got to be realistic, haven't you? It's one of these where I think there's been a lot of training programs, or people, if, I don't know, coaches just, sorry if athletes don't go out and get that beginner's advice, if you like. It's just, okay, let's go and run out. I can knock 5 minutes off my 5K time, which is not going to happen, let's face it. But no, I think you've mentioned, some fantastic people there. I think Liz McColgan, when I first started watching running, I think obviously Liz McColgan was coming towards the end of her career, and then it was Paula coming through. And I think for me, in terms of like my running hero or inspiration, I think Paula's right up there. And I don't think it's just for her race results, if you like. I think the amount of effort, the amount of training she put in, and she kind of opened people to that, if that makes sense, how much effort it goes. I mean, there's obviously other examples, but she kind of opened up on how much effort, not just physically, but mentally it takes as well.
Yeah, and also the variety in her running. So it was, she came from the track and cross country and the shorter distance and built up. So she had that initial speed and then built up on the endurance side. And I think, a lot of people maybe that just start into road running just focus on running and miss out on the track speed and the cross country endurance. So I think to have that all round focus like she sort of showed us is really, really important to build in, rather than just go down one route and get set in your ways in one thing. I mean, you can't be as good at everything. I'm never a country runner. I try.
I think everyone makes that mistake. I mean, especially me early on in my career. So I started on the track doing 800 meters, but then 8:15 is the typical double up, isn't it? But actually, I wanted to have a go at 3K, I wanted to have a go at 5K, then you know, the 10K, you become old enough to do the 10K road races, and then you can't be good at everything, and it's just I learned that the hard way, unfortunately. but and that was unfortunately through injury and illness and stuff like that. But look, it happens to everyone, and I think I mean, current day athletes. So obviously, I know we've talked about the past and stuff like that, but is there any kind of like the current crop of athletes where you think actually look at how they run and look at what they're doing? It's fantastic what they're doing. It doesn't have to be British, but it could be anyone in the world. You know, is there anyone?
No, I think I really watched it. It's been so good to see a lot more of the British ladies coming through. I mean, Alish McColgan, obviously, she's incredible. She's absolutely incredible. And a lot of the ladies running the marathon as well. Just to see so many more of them at that level now. Because, you know, when I was running London Marathon, there wasn't that many of us in it at the elite level, and they'd be far past me now, I'm sure. But yeah, to have that higher concentration of ladies at the elite level is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you look at some of the teams that they've put in. So I mean, you know, you look at the middle distance. I mean, so anywhere between 800, 1500, 5K, we're absolutely stacked at the moment. We are really. You know, I mean, Ailish can choose any event she wants, which is, I mean, that's a testament to her. I mean, she had a real bad start to her career. I mean, she came from the steeplechase, didn't she? She got injured, and I think her mother just took her to one side, it sounds like, and just. But no, I think I mean, there's so many people coming through in them events, and like you say, the marathon. It's I mean, there was a controversial miss. You know, someone missed out controversially, but actually, you look at the three that are selected. It's a strong team. It's a strong team.
Yeah, it's exciting, and it's good that the whole athletics world is getting more focus, and people are more excited about it recently as well. It's just got a real high profile, and it's great to see. You know, track and field. You know, field events as well. And the you know, what am I trying to say? Just Ennis. You know. Seeing that all-round athletic ability is just inspiring for anybody, no matter what sport they're in. So yeah, we're on the up, I think, definitely.
Absolutely. I think I'm so looking forward to the Olympics. I mean, whether it'll be like it has been in previous years, it's doubtful. But actually, I don't think the athletes will care. I think they'll go there. They'll end up racing. There's something they've built up for well, it'll be 5 years now. So I think there'll be some real good, fantastic times there, and also some real good racing there as well. So I can't wait either. I've had a question that's actually just come to mind, and I think so. When it comes to training, and it's you've got your training block, you've got your long runs, you've got your track sessions, whatever it may be. Is there a particular favorite session that you've got, or is there one that you hate the most, or is that, I mean, is there a favorite session? Is it one that you always go to?
I really enjoy. Well, my favorite run of the week is my long run, but I wouldn't call that a session. But that's my favorite because I can just go out and zone out and just do the miles and explore. But my favorite sessions in terms of probably long reps, so 1,000-meter reps. I love going on the track and just, you know, doing some 1,000-meter reps. Anything tempo, I love tempo runs, but I'm pretty rubbish at the shorter speed and also varying pace on the track when I'm doing interval. Oh God. I tend to do a 300-meter rep the same speed as I go and do an 800-meter rep and feel more comfortable at the 800, even though
it's weird how that works sometimes, isn't it? I mean, you talked about the varying paces during the session, so I'm assuming you probably mean, so I don't know, you do like a set of, I'm just saying as an example, 5 300s, then you'd go and do like 5 600s or something like that. The varying paces in one session, it hurts, doesn't it?
I just can't do it. And sometimes we'll do a session where we're on the whistle, so every time the whistle goes, you have to either increase your speed incrementally or up and then down. I just I think that was the whistle, let's go. Oh no, I'm still going the same speed. That's what I've always struggled with that. I'm just happy at one pace and maintaining it. You know, I just seem to relax into it, but other people will be the other way around. So again, you run to your strengths, don't you? And
absolutely. And I think with the long run, I think I do count that as a session. I think for me, again, it's one of my favorite runs. I think you go out for 2 hours, you're doing your marathon training, you've got either got your headphones in, or you just want the peace and quiet, however's best for you. And actually you just go out and run. It doesn't matter about pace. If you want to up the speed a little bit for a couple of K, then great.
Exactly.
I love that.
Running.
Yeah. I think and I think for me, because obviously I come from an 800 meter background, I always used to love the 4x200s, then you do have a rest, then you do the 4x200s again. I think for me, it's just like having done them varying distances. I mean, obviously I haven't been a pro, so I haven't specialized in any kind of event, but actually I need to find that middle ground, because the K reps you was just talking about, I can't stand them.
Oh, really?
I cannot stand them. They hurt. I think it just shows where I need to actually build my fitness, to be honest with you. But I can't stand them. It's just one of these where I would get to about 600. I thought, okay, that's great, fantastic. And then you've got that extra lap, and it's just like the lactic's building. I've got another set of these yet, and it's just absolutely I can't stand them. But to be honest with you, they're probably what I need. And it's good
mental focus. In fact, in a way, because I tend to do them on my own, it's trying to remember where I'm going to stop on the track. You think you run around once, you think, if I run around once or twice, where am I going to stop? And by that time, most of it's over.
Oh, when the lactic takes in, I mean, I think all kind of like mental ability goes, doesn't it? You know, I mean, you start to run funny, you do all kinds of noises and stuff like that. It's just
where do I stop?
Yeah, exactly. I think in terms of mileage, I mean, like I say, I'm not one of these who brilliant, I've run 130 miles this week. I have never done that, by the way. I haven't quite been there yet, but I'm not obsessed on mileage, if you like. But in a typical like high training plan that you do, so when you're kind of really reaching the peak of your training, what sort of mileage do you get to roughly?
Well, say in 2013-14, I would have been running average around 80 miles a week up to a peak of 100 at max. But I've always worked full time, so I was doing that around a full-time job.
Wow.
And you know, obviously I'm on the committee for the club, and I was running the beginners group then as well. So it's cramming everything in, which probably didn't help me, and was probably, looking back at it, way too much. Not too much mileage, too much else going on around.
Absolutely, yeah.
But now I'm on about 70 miles a week, and I'll probably I won't go much above 80, 85 this time, I thought. Yeah,
and I think people underestimate how I mean, you got the pro athletes, it's their day job, and don't get me wrong, they work bloody hard, you know. You know, they work really hard, but actually people who aren't pro have to work more or less full time. And you know, whether it's being a full-time parent, whether it's being a full-time job, well, actually both. You know, it's one of these where actually you can't underestimate that. I think for the fact that you said you had peaked at around 80 miles to 100 in your, in that kind of time period, I'm amazed. If considering that you had a full-time job, I'm staggered that you got that amount of mileage in.
Yeah, well, it was doubling up on quite a few days, so I'd run twice. So maybe lunchtime and evening, or morning and evening, just to get the miles in, and obviously quite long runs at the weekend. But well, I think as long as you're building up to it gradually, it doesn't seem like a big deal at the time, because it's so gradual in increments. You know, if you went from running 30 miles a week to running 80 miles a week, then you probably won't be running very long.
Yeah, your body's not going to thank you for that, is it? No, it's one of these where absolutely, it's just you know, I think part of a training plan's just got to incorporate your daily life. It's not just about running, is it? It's about how you eat as well.
Yeah, oh, totally. And the hardest thing, I think, for people who aren't full-time athletes is getting the rest that you need, because you're working and you're training and you're trying to eat properly, and do everything else. But the one thing that I probably neglected was getting enough rest and enough sleep. And it's so important when you're putting your body under that much pressure, which is probably why I had some of the injuries I did. It wasn't overtraining or anything like that. The training was fine. It was probably the lack of cross training and rest.
Take the load off. I think I've certainly, I mean, because I build up to that. So after lockdown, there was the Essex Marathon, which ATW organised. So they started to do like phase back in races and stuff like that. And I completely underestimated. I mean, because I've got an 18-month-old son, and totally different to how my daughter was. So my daughter's 6, and she was an absolute angel. She let us sleep through the night. She let us do this and stuff. My son is completely the opposite. I think there was times where I was operating on 4 hours sleep a night, and I tried to train through that and try and do it's hard work.
It's exhausting.
It's hard work, and I think bearing in mind I haven't even took into account my job either. Like I say, I work full time, so that's just mad. I couldn't believe how much it takes out of you. So I think sleep and rest is actually just so important as well, which I think a lot of people are underestimate, is because I used to love my typical 8 hours a night and stuff like that. I don't remember having 8 hours since I've had children, if I'm honest.
No, I mean, I could maybe get 6 or 7 hours a night, but there was sometimes when I was at work and I'd go and sleep in the back of the seat of the car for half an hour or 20 minutes just because I was so tired.
Wow.
The energy to kind of do the evening run, but
Oh wow.
Glamorous thing to admit to, but
I think we've all been there at times. I mean,
do what you have to do, don't you?
Absolutely. Couple of more things I just wanted to say. So there was just around your races. So I think I'm going to ask you a couple of different segments. So what has been your best race that you can think of?
Cardiff Half Marathon would have been the best.
Yeah, and that's just mainly because how you felt and the time you got. And
it wasn't obviously it was a PB, so that was great, but it was about how I felt. And that how everything felt so easy and controlled, and in my head as well as physically I had it sorted. I was in control and it felt easy and everything just came together. So I think that was my favorite race ever. And you're always looking for that feeling again. Think, will it happen again ever?
So obviously that's your favorite race in terms of like your performance, but is there like a different race where actually, look, it might not have been for performance, but actually you've turned up at a race, whether it's a, I don't know, 10K, a marathon or something like that, but is there a favorite race that you would always go to and say, right, this is the best one, this is the one I always look forward to?
There's quite a few local races really, because I think we've got such a great series down here. We've got a Cornish Grand Prix, which is races from 4 miles right up to the marathon, and there's 14 races through the year.
Oh, nice.
Those races. And I've been doing those for quite a few years. And just going back to them every year I just love them. There's a 10-mile one that's local, 10 miles, and that was my 10-mile PB as well. But every year is different because you don't know whether you're going to be running in snow or knee-deep water, but I love it, and I love running with the people that are down here and are my friends and I've seen year after year. But there's quite a few of the bigger races, the city races that we often go to. So traveling with my mum and stepdad who also race, and my husband to sort of Cardiff and Bristol and places like that, Bath, for the bigger races. I love the atmosphere of those. I love the big races.
No, fantastic. I think my one's got to be, it's got to be London Marathon. That's definitely my favorite. I've got a PB there, but it's not for that, if that makes sense. I think the atmosphere, at the start, during the race, so it got to Cutty Sark, I was 10K in, and you're like, look at these crowds, look at the landmarks, and I should have been right. I'd have probably have got another 2-minute PB or something like that if I hadn't been looking at everything. But actually, you get to all the landmarks, you run past things, you see all the people out. It's such a diverse crowd as well. You look at the diversity in London, it's just unbelievable. But they all come together for this event, and it's an amazing event.
Yeah, it is. I found it incredibly overwhelming the first time I ran it.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't believe the noise, the sheer noise, because you know, I run down here, I train pretty much on my own most of the time. You basically don't really see anybody. And if you talk to them, it's hello.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're running a marathon and the noise constantly, because there's spectators all the way.
Yeah.
I was so overwhelmed. It was just another world. Yeah. Incredible.
You just can't plan for that, can you? I mean, yeah,
No.
it was overwhelming. I think that because my first marathon was the Edinburgh one, and it's in stark contrast because I don't think the big events really kicked off. I mean, because I think crowds have got a lot better at some of the other marathons in the country now, but actually Edinburgh was actually very much dead compared to where London was, if that makes sense.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I mean, look, I loved Edinburgh. I loved the event, and I think it was a really good race. But I think London for me just has to be my favourite. And
I think it is for a lot of people.
Oh, absolutely. And I think like yourself, I do like a lot of the local races that I used to come up with. The Southern Athletics League as well. I used to compete in that, and I used to love all the league events as well. But I think my last kind of thing. So obviously we talked about lockdown, and we come in, and I think everything just kind of come to a stop. And I just want to kind of, because I've spoke to a few people, and there's a load of different answers that I got. And firstly, how did you cope? I mean, did you get on okay? You know, I know that's kind of a broad question, but I think lockdown affected people a lot of different ways. So how did you get on in lockdown?
The first few weeks was difficult to adjust to. Yeah. It really was. I think more because I was worried about family than what I was doing with my job or my training or anything like that. But once we'd kind of settled into everybody's safe at home, and that's all okay, we just got to get through this. Then to get back into training, what I didn't want to do was just to let it all go, because I knew it would be really easy to fall out of a routine and get kind of not lazy, but unmotivated, because you didn't have a target anymore. And I thought, I'm such a person for structure. If I lose my structure, I'm just going to be miserable. So I did a lot of virtual races. Like weekly, pretty much weekly, because there was one in a company in Devon that doing weekly virtual races, different distances, 3K up to 10 miles, I think. And that gave me my weekly speed session instead of doing track, because track was shut. And that really helped. I think that I got really quite fit last summer. Unfortunately, I had a rubbish marathon at the end of it, a rubbish day. Just weather, which wasted a lot of my lovely training. But yeah, being able to keep that structure, and also the Fly 5K, which we
there we go. Yeah, I was going to try and shoehorn that in, but you've mentioned it.
Oh no, that's been brilliant.
Yeah, I think the effort that Graham's put into it. I mean, he started it, and this is still going on. I think obviously, I've said I've been very, very late to it, which, considering I'm a St Albans strider the same as Graham, is that's quite unforgivable, really. But I think I know. But I mean, just being involved in it in the first few weeks, I saw quickly what it was about. Yeah. And it was about bringing people together just to, one, virtually race, but actually you've got the Fly 5K Facebook group. You've got, I'm involved in a couple of chats with them as well. And I think it brought a lot of people together that was, one, mentally struggling, but two, wanted to keep some structure as well.
I think it really helped some people who got put off virtual racing as well, because it was so technical to have to upload, for some people to upload your time on via such and such onto it just made it a bit, people didn't want to tackle it. They thought it was too complicated. Whereas the Fly 5K, it's so based on honesty, and you can just tell that everybody is, because they're all in it for the same thing. But you can just type your time in on a form, and it just makes it so accessible for anybody. You don't have to be technologically minded to upload your time via Strava and all this, that and the other. And I think that's a real bonus of Graham's idea with Fly 5K, is to make it accessible and easy and friendly, and just the community aspect of it is brilliant. And yet you can still go out and it makes you do a really good speed or tempo run, basically, or speed session. And that really helped a lot of people through that time. I think he's him and everybody else who's hosted it.
There's so many hosts. It's just grown and grown. I think Graham's he's had to employ some hosts, which
is I'm not surprised. He must put so many hours into it.
No, absolutely. And I think you look at the fact that there's so many people from it's mainly the south of England, but look, I mean, from Cornwall all the way through to the Essex and obviously St Albans. But now I said there's people from the north doing times as well. And I think, look, I mean, the fact that I saw that Cornwall AC won the team prize a few times, I think that's fantastic how diverse and how big it's become. I think it's been brilliant, and it really, like you say, it gave everyone a focus.
Yeah, and it's really inclusive as well. With our team, we've got people from under 14s, 11, 12 years old, up to vet 75s in our team, and everybody, because it's based on, usually based on sort of your age group placing, it makes it a proper competition for everybody. Whether you're 12 or whether you're 75, you can still come first in your age group, and that's a massive help towards the team. Whereas in another virtual race, you might be thinking, oh, well, I'm going to come 280th or something. It's not as motivating. But that's been a real highlight for everybody in the club as well. And I'm pleased that so many people have got involved with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just a testament to the effort that Graham's put in.
Yeah.
Because, I don't think, I certainly haven't been shy in terms of the mental health issues from lockdown, because I think a lot of people did struggle. So look, I think what he did there, and I think there's been a lot of other things that have gone on as well, which have helped during the lockdown, which is good. And I think the reintroduction of racing, there's a lot of things that you can fault. Like I said, we lifted lockdown first time too early and stuff like that, but actually the reintroduction of racing and how it's been planned with most things has been really good. And the ATW events that I attended, so the Essex one that I attended, actually you have to come in, you have to wear a mask, you have to queue at certain distances. So look, and it was enforced as well. It was one of these where, look, if you don't abide by the rules, there's people that got ejected. So it was really enforced well, and I think a lot of athletics clubs have done really well to start getting these events back.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, and it's where there's a will, there's a way, and people have found ways to do it and to get things going again, no matter what, really, and to keep it, but still keeping everybody safe. So it's been a very kind of innovative time, hasn't it, for the sport?
No, absolutely. And I think hopefully we can try and see a London Marathon to how it was. I don't know if it will be in the next couple of years or what, but I think this is going to have an impact on everyone's life going forward. And I don't think we're ever going to get away with that now. But actually, I think the fact that the London Marathon's coming back this year, I think it's a fantastic achievement. Considering the numbers that it's going to bring. And they're saying that, I said, talking about a sporting event, 140,000 people are going to be attending the British Grand Prix. So they must be confident, because otherwise they wouldn't allow it. So
yeah, exactly.
Cool. All right. I think one last question, and I think this will be a good way to end it. But if there's one specific moment in your running career that would probably define you as a runner.
Oh God.
Oh, here we go. Look, again, I've really put you on the spot. But if there's one specific time or event, what would it be?
Oh God.
wow, the cogs are turning.
Yeah, they really are, because there's so many for so many different reasons. But I just think maybe finishing at the Frankfurt Marathon, because my dad had flown over with my husband and I, and for them to be there at the finish just meant the world to me. But also the Toronto Marathon, where my mum and my stepdad came and watched that, you know, my first England vest, then that was incredible as well. Although both of those, I could hardly walk after either of them, but
well, it shows you put everything into it then, doesn't it?
Oh God. But yeah, you know, they were good races, but it was because the family were there.
Yeah.
And I'd hopefully done the club proud as well.
I'm sure throughout your running career you've done your club proud. I think you've obviously given a lot to the club. You've done a lot for your family, you know, for family and stuff like that as well. I think everyone's, you know, it sounds like everyone's proud of you. Let's face it that way.
I hope so, because I've had so much help, you know, and not just from the club and from teammates. It's like people who've given me sports massage and strength and conditioning, and the local running shop that helped me with shoes, which I probably wouldn't have been able to afford, and just so much help and advice from so many people. You can't take it all in and not give back. You know, it's everything that I've been lucky enough to enjoy has come from a lot of other people, and that is the joy of running. You know, we're all in it together and we all help each other. So I think we're very lucky to be involved in it.
No, absolutely, and I couldn't agree more with that. And I think I've really enjoyed this interview, and it's been one of these where it's been really good talking to someone who's been from the club side of things, going through to the I was about to say professional, but actually it's more you know, you've been at some real top events. You've won categories, you've got England vests and stuff like that. So you've been really, you know, pretty much at the top of the sport, and then you're giving back as well. And I think it's such a privilege to interview someone who's been there, and it's brilliant. So thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks ever so much for asking, and also good luck with the channel. I think it'll be really interesting. It's great.
Oh, thank you very much. Really appreciate that. So thank you very much, and we'll see who we can get next time. I mean, this is going to be how can I put it? I've set the bar high, so let's see who I can do next. Bring on the channel next.
I'm sure you get plenty.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Emma.
Thanks, Steve. Bye.